and give a big, warm welcome from Chelsea, Michigan, Executive Diamonds, Bob and Bonnie Howard.
This afternoon, we came to help you to realize what you have your hands on and to help you put pieces of the puzzles together. And hopefully, you came to learn and something was said that can help you go out there and make this thing happen and make this your year. Tonight, we're here really to share with you a little bit about where we came from, how we got introduced to this crazy thing, some of the struggles that we had to go through, and the benefits that we have today because we were willing to go through those struggles. And as you realize, tough times don't last, but tough people do. And that's what diamonds are. They're tough people with big dreams, and they're going to make it happen. And we know that you're tough people too. So we're excited to be able to be here with you this evening. And again, we'd like to congratulate all of you for your achievements. For those of you that are brand new, hopefully we can inspire you to go out there and do this for yourself, because it's certainly worth it. And we're no better than anybody in this room. And we're just really proud to be here with a group of winners. And as Bob said today, it's really special to be in a room of givers. And it's a real special feeling that you've made us feel real welcome because of your giving spirit. And we appreciate all of you too. So here's Bonnie, and I'll be back, and we'll have a great time here tonight. We're looking forward to being here with you. Here's Bonnie.
Well, when I bring home that present to Liza, last weekend we were, I don't know, I think in Cincinnati, and somebody left her a little bag with an angel and a coloring book, so she thinks when I go to speak, or Mom and Dad go to speak, that she gets gifts. So she's got this thing all figured out that if I don't come home with something that's her gift, that she wonders what happened. And first of all, I don't know if MJ knew it or not, but I have a Santa Claus collection I keep out all year long, just because we all celebrate the spirit of Christmas, and so many times through the year we forget that spirit. And I keep my Santa Clauses out all year long, that it reminds us of what the holidays are all about, that should be all year. But we're excited to be here. It was like being homecoming back there and talking to MJ and just, you know, reflecting back to many years ago when we were at the Ramada and just talking to Lucy, because I can remember the first time we came back and we were working with Scott and MJ and Ed and Lucy Metzger. We went out and we had coffee and the whole association and how it started, and it was a new start, a new beginning for all of us. And you know, even though Bobby and I have been in the business for 17 years, our business really has been built in the last 7 years. And it's exciting to see what has happened in the business in the last few years, and so many things have changed since we haven't been with you, and we'll share some of those. But I guess the first thing we should start with was 17 years ago when Bobby got involved in the business. And many of you know that story, and you know, I can remember us dating and doing the things that we did, and you know, of course, Jimmy and Patty remember that. I mean, basically, we spent every weekend out at the bars and smoking funny little cigarettes and riding Harley Davidsons, and we always learned early in the business that you are a product of your environment, and we definitely were a product of the environment. We hung around those people, and that's what we did every weekend for a couple of years. And, you know, I think at some time in your life you all wonder what you're going to do when you grow up. At least Bobby did. I never thought about it. I never had a goal in my life. I never thought about, you know, where I wanted to be when I was 30 or 40 years old. I never thought about what kind of car I wanted to drive. I figured that I was a dental assistant, and then if I made enough money to pay my rent and to be able to have some extra money to go out to the bars and mess around, that was great. I mean, I would have been happy with that. And Bobby and I dated for a couple of years before he saw the business, and you know, I can remember him coming home and being all excited about Amway, and I didn't really understand what Amway was about, except I had heard what I thought it was about. And many of you can relate to that, just hearing bits and pieces of it. And you know, he started talking to me about all this business, and he was going to make this money, and you know, all this stuff. He was really excited about it because at that time in his life, he was looking for something else to do. He wanted to change his career. He didn't want to paint houses for the rest of his life. But, you know, I was not excited about it, and I lived with a girlfriend who said, you know, Bonnie, how can they make that much money in Amway? I mean, I work with doctors who don't make that kind of money, and Bobby thinks he's going to sell soap because, see, that's all she saw. And because I lived with her, that's all I saw. I didn't understand the marketing plan. I didn't really care to understand it even. And I can remember Bobby just being really excited about it. But, I was very quick to remind him that there weren't people that looked like him in the Ammogram. Because when we opened up the Ammogram, there were professional people in there, or there were people that, had suits and ties on and that were all dressed up and nice, not people with beards and mustaches and, long hair and hippies. And that's what I saw. So I really did not have any faith in the business at all in the beginning. And, I can remember going to an open in Jimmy's parents' basement and sitting there with my arms crossed and really looking and thinking, what's the bottom line? What is it really all about? Because I was very skeptical. And many of you have been there, and you've sat there and wondered if you're doing the right thing. And, I wondered that for many years if I was doing the right thing. But one thing I understood in the beginning is that I had fallen in love with somebody. And I knew someday we'd probably get married. I didn't know when, because in Ann Arbor at that time, basically, you were just boyfriend and girlfriend, or you lived together, and that was the society we were in. And so we never really talked about it. But Bobby went ahead and persisted and was going to give this business a shot. And, I'd watch him drive to Columbus, Ohio, and I'd watch him drive to Canada, and I'd watch him buy books and tapes. And I really felt bad for him, because I thought, he's getting all excited about something that may never happen. And, maybe, this will just last a month or two, and then he'll finally quit. And, I tried to discourage him from it because I didn't understand. And I can remember product pickup, and Jimmy and Patty will remember this, and being so negative because my soap didn't come in, and being so negative because I had to be in bed by 11 o'clock. And I couldn't understand why we had to do product pickup at 11 o'clock at night. And just all the struggles that we gave them. And, people, our upline would come in and go, are you excited? And I think, excited about what? About Amway? How can you be excited about Amway? I didn't understand any of it. I mean, any of it. And, I kept on watching Bobby change. I kept on seeing him go to the functions and go to open opportunity meetings. But the one thing he did is that even though he was excited about the business, and I wasn't, he never tried to push me. And so I want to encourage you that if your spouse is not excited about the business, just give them room and time to grow at their own pace. Because if Bobby had pushed and pushed and pushed me, I don't think that I ever would have supported him. But you know what? He was going to do it with or without me. And he just allowed me that time to grow as an individual. And, he just kept on going to the functions, and I'd see that change. I'd see maybe not going to the bars every week, maybe every 2 weeks. Or, it took a process of time for us to stop those habits. But, we just kept on pressing forward, and I think it took about a year before I ever really listened to a tape, read a book, went to a function, any of those things. But one of the major functions that I went to that changed me was a family reunion in Pennsylvania, because for the first time in my life, I went someplace that there was a group of people that were excited for each other, and there was no drugs and alcohol. And that was a revelation to me, because the only time we ever had a good time is if we were drinking or if we were high. And so we didn't understand what the other side of life was doing. And when we went to that function, I thought there were probably thousands and thousands of people. I'm sure there weren't. But you know what? It was the first time that I felt that maybe this thing was possible. And so, you've heard on my tapes, it's just like I didn't necessarily believe in the business. And I didn't necessarily have a dream in the sense that I wanted a fur coat, a diamond ring, or freedom. I had a dream to help Bobby because I saw him struggle. And when you hear a story, those of you that know it, I used to just want to hug him and say it will be okay, because he had a rough upbringing and he struggled with his self-esteem just like I did. But I used to hurt for him so bad when he'd go out there and the person you love's out there, paying the price and showing the plan and doing all the right things, but yet it's not happening. And there were times I used to look at him and say, Bobby, we can quit. We can go away, we can move, nobody will know us, we'll never hear the word Amway. And I know some of you probably have felt like that at times, like, I wished I never heard of it. I wished I never heard of this word. But you know what he said to me? We will never quit. And that was the key word, we will never quit. I don't care how long it takes, I don't care how much we have to go through, I don't care what we have to do, it's not an option. And see, when I understood that, then I was able to support him wholeheartedly, even though I didn't understand, because I knew he wasn't going to quit, and it wasn't worth fighting with him anymore. And so I rode his dream. I knew that everything he had ever told me in the past happened, and if he told me this thing was going to work, I believed in him. I didn't believe in the business. I didn't understand the business, but I believed in him. And so he told me these things were going to happen, and so I just hung on to him and just supported him in any way I could. And, not that we didn't have the typical Amway discussions, and not that I ever wanted to go to functions and do all the things. I mean, it was just a struggle all the time. And we talk about getting out of your comfort zone. and taking control of your life. And, you know, it's not always easy. It's not convenient. It's not easy staying up at night when you have to go to work in the morning. It's not easy having to get babysitters. It's not easy driving the miles and putting up with some of the stuff that you have to put up with. But you will be richly blessed because you have done that. And, you know, that's the thing we can appreciate now, but when you're going through it, sometimes it doesn't seem like that. We struggled with, you know, the self-esteem thing like I shared with you this afternoon. I think I was an Emerald Direct before I ever realized that I was okay being Bonnie Howard, because I struggled with who I was. I looked at all the women on stage and thought, I'll never be like them. I don't know if I'm going to have what it takes to be a diamond, because I didn't look the part. I didn't fit the part. And I was a little bit of a renegade, and, you know, I always had to put my 2 cents into everything. And I just didn't believe that I was going to be able to be a diamond. I didn't think I was deserving of it. And even when I was an emerald, I still struggled with that personal self-growth. And, you know, there was many times that I just sat there and said, you know what? All you have to do is be the best person you can be. And that's what I want to share with you. You don't have to be just like these diamonds. You don't have to fit a certain mold. You just have to be the best person you can be for your husband, for your children, for your organization, for whoever it is. And that took me a long time to understand, a real long time. And, you know, I think that's why it took Bobby and I so long to go diamond, because we had a lot of internal struggles to go through, because we needed to become the people that we needed to be for our organization. We needed to be the leader of our group, because they weren't going to grow unless we were growing. And so that self-esteem was something that Bobby and I struggled with for a long time, and not that we don't now. I mean, I think it's an ongoing process that you continually work on. But I can remember Bobby promising me, you'll never have to sell products and you'll never have to speak in front of a group of people. And I sit there and think and remind myself that every time I do this. He promised me I wouldn't have to do this. But you know, I guess when you know what this business can do for people, you really have something you want to share. But I used to get so frustrated going to functions and listening to the diamonds talk and say, it's so great, it's like this, like that. And I used to sit there and go, yeah, yeah, yeah. You know, I didn't really believe it. I didn't really believe that it was going to be like that. And now I find myself frustrating trying to share with you that no matter what you go through, no matter what you have to do, that this business will be well worth it. And when you get there, you will think, thank God I built this business. And, you know, those are the things that we went through. And I guess our first direct was a single guy. Our second direct was a single guy. Our third direct was a single guy. And, you know, we just went through the same things that you're going to go through today, except Amway's a lot better now. I mean, now it's like we have credibility. Then it was like, oh, Amway, you know, and they didn't understand. But, you know, I can remember when we went direct, and I can remember how excited Bobby was and how scared I was. I can remember him setting a goal to go pearl because we could wear a tuxedo. We didn't go pearl because we were going to make any money. We went pearl so Bobby could wear a tuxedo. And sometimes it's the motivation of a reward or a contest or something like that that makes you go out and perform. And it's kind of like we trick you into it, and people tricked us into it. We were joking, we were doing a leadership last night because we used to have these contests that every time you sponsored somebody, you'd put your name on an egg, and at the end of the contest, you'd turn around and you won a tape. The things that we would do, you know, I mean, I sound like I'm telling stories. It's just like we used to do the silliest things to motivate us, and now it's like it's so good and it's so different. But, you know, we went pearl so Bobby could wear a tuxedo. We went pearl so I could maybe cut down on my days from being a dental assistant. But see, I was one of those people, I loved my job. I thought I would do my job till I died. I loved being a dental assistant, but I was a typical person that I loved what I was doing because I saw no option not to do that. And I can remember Bobby saying, someday you'll be able to quit your job. Someday you'll be able not to do that. And I thought, I'll never not be able to do this. And so when we were pearl, I was able to quit my job. And, you know, he sent me a dozen red roses that said, take this job and shove it. And it was like so strange to be able to have that freedom. It was so strange to know that I did not have to go back to work. You know, pearl was like a revelation to us because we got to wear a tux. I got to quit my job. We bought a brand new Cadillac, which was the first brand new car we ever bought in our entire lives. And the funny thing is people prejudge you, and we walked in with our blue jeans, and nobody wanted to wait on us. You know, and we drove off with that brand new Eldorado at that time. But then the biggest highlight, of course, is we were pearl when we got married. And, you know, we always tease each other and say, I wanted to make sure he was really going to be rich before I married him, because that's what he had promised me, that he would be rich in this business and that we would have all our dreams come true. And we just got so busy doing things and just involved in the business that we were at a major function, and most of these guys will remember this. We were at a major function in Washington, D.C., and we got married in Washington, D.C. at a family reunion. And that made us make a total commitment to the business, because now, for the first time in our lives, we were together as a team. We had made a commitment to each other, and we made a commitment to this business. But everybody goes through their struggles, and Bobby and I stayed Pearl, I think, for a year and a half. And every step of the way, we've stayed there longer than most people should ever stay there. That's why it took us so long. But we got comfortable a little bit at Pearl too, because we made more money at Pearl than Bobby and I were making house painting and dental assisting. And so it was exciting to us. But our struggles up until Pearl were more or less personal struggles with ourselves, because we just didn't understand, we didn't grow, we weren't mature enough. So those were our internal struggles. And we stayed Pearl for a year and a half, and then we went Emerald. Our motivation to go Emerald was so that Bobby could retire from his painting business. And I'll never forget it, because we had like 19 inches of snow the day before his retirement party. And we did it anyway. And I don't know if you can picture what it's going to be like for you not to have to go to work ever again. And it's a strange thing when it first happens, and you wake up in the morning and you think, oh, I don't have a job. I don't have to go there anymore. I don't have to do that anymore. It was a strange feeling not to have a job. But to be able to be so proud that your organization was there and your upline was there, to know that through this Amway business that you could not have to work again. But Bobby and I went through our struggles at Emerald, and a lot of those things aren't really important, but at that day and time, we didn't have the system like we have today, and that's why we value it. All of us that have not built it with the system value the system deeply. We went through some struggles, our upline went through some struggles, and we just kind of got sidetracked. And we were just kind of out there in the middle of nowhere, just kind of wondering what was happening. But one thing that we still knew that Amway worked. We still knew Amway was the best thing out there, because see, we went through the struggles, we went through financial struggles, and it wasn't anybody's fault. It was just something that happened. And we had just moved into a brand new home, and we had our struggles then. And we sat Emerald for 6 years. And it was a frustrating time, because a lot of things happened. Bobby's dad passed away. I mean, we just went through, it's just so much junk. But you know what? It doesn't make any difference, because you may never have to go through those things. And if you don't go through them, it's not important to you. But when you go through your own struggles, just understand that tough times don't last, that tough people do. And that through this business, if you have the faith, you can pick yourself back up and keep on moving on. And that's what we did. We'd have our AMA discussions, and we'd have times where I wondered if it was going to be worth it. I'd look at Bobby and say, are you sure you want to do this thing? Are you sure? I mean, are we going to keep on going out there and doing it? He goes, Bonnie, it's still better. We're still making more money at this than we could have at our job, and we're in control of our time. And that's the thing. I just appreciate so much through those times that I was married to a winner, because I could have stole that dream. I could have just kept on hounding him to the point where he would have just said, okay, let's just quit. But you know what? He never had that option. He always kept on moving forward. And so we struggled for those 6 years, and we had our challenges. And I can remember going to Free Enterprise and see, you tell your group that it's worth it. You tell your group Diamond's where it's at, that you have to be a diamond. And we came to the conclusion that if Diamond was so wonderful, how come we weren't one? And see, our group was looking at us and going, Bob and Bonnie, if Diamond's so good, how come you're not one? They never said that to us. But see, they weren't growing because we weren't growing. And I can remember going to, Free Enterprise after Free Enterprise and thinking, maybe this year we'll make the decision. We made the decision, but we didn't go home and back it with the commitment. We didn't go home and get focused. We didn't go home and do whatever it was going to take. And so Free Enterprise after Free Enterprise after Free Enterprise, we kept on saying we're going diamond, and it never happened. And then we started to wonder, can we? Do we have what it takes? Can we build a diamond ship? And I would hurt so bad for Bobby, because I would watch him struggle. See, at that point it was like, well, I'll just go back and be a dental assistant. But I looked in his eyes, and I knew how bad he wanted to be a diamond. I knew how bad that he wanted to make something of his life from where he had come from. And, I hurt for him all those times that people would quit. The numbers would go up and down, and things weren't happening. But you know what? He told me we were going diamond. And so I just kept on believing in him, and I kept on helping him, and I kept on supporting him. And, I guess if that was my goal and that was my reason, I was becoming the best person I could be by doing that. And so, those were some of our struggles. And then, I think it was Free Enterprise of 1989. We sat out there with Dex and Bertie, and, of course, we've been working with Scott and MJ and here, and things were happening, and numbers were popping. And, it was like so many of you were part of our quest for diamond. It was like all of a sudden, Bob and Bonnie were going diamond. And in August of '89, Bobby sat out there and said, we're going diamond this year. And see, in December, we weren't in qualification and we were supposed to be. And in December, Liza was born. And all of a sudden, life was different. I never thought I'd ever have children. I have this baby, we're going diamond, and I was so confused and so, MJ will remember some of my frantic phone calls to her about, oh my gosh, what's going on? Please help, pray with me or something. I mean, I'm just so confused. And I just kept on plugging away. I just kept on plugging away. See, you can't look at what hasn't happened in the past. You just got to get focused on what's in the future and decide that you're going to make it happen. You can't look at your upline. You can't look at what hasn't happened, what they haven't done for you, because, see, you're the magic. Bobby and I had each other. We had each other. We knew that if it was going to be done, that Bob and Bonnie were going to have to get up off our butts and get out there and make it happen. And that's what we did. And, we just went out there and worked and worked and worked and worked. And we had a new baby at home, and we worked. And in August of '90, we went diamond. And I want to tell you, it was like, I can't even explain it to you. Because when we stood on that Jaeger stage, and I hope you picture yourself on a Jaeger stage as a new diamond, because I can remember that night being so excited and going down a day early and shopping with MJ and Scott and MJ taking us to the meetings and being able to introduce Bobby as a new diamond. And it was probably the highlight of my life, because all of a sudden, this person who I loved and who had hurt for so many years, and when you know his story, I mean, hurt for so long, and all of a sudden, here he is, a new diamond. But see, it took us 13 years because we had to grow. Understand, it doesn't have to take you 13 years. But if it does, it's still going to be worth it. I don't care what you go through, it's still going to be worth it. And what has it been like since diamond? An absolute whirlwind. I mean, sometimes it's like I have to just, I can't believe Liza's going to be 5 next week, and what's happened in the last 5 years. It's been incredible. And just the benefits of the business and the time that we have together as a family, the freedom that we have, to be able to travel with Liza. Last year we went to Australia for 3 weeks, and we took her with us, and here she is, 4 years old, and she's been more places than most people will ever be in a lifetime. To see her with the kangaroos and the koala bears and the wombats, and take her on the trips, and just being able to watch her. And it's so cute because, when she was like 2 or 3, she said to Grandpa, she goes, Grandpa, you want room service? You just order it, they come in, you sign a piece of paper, and you don't even have to pay for it. And I'm sitting there thinking, my dad was, 58 years old, never had room service, and his granddaughter's 3, and she's teaching him how to order room service. So we have to keep her humble a little bit, that she understands this. But, it's the lifestyle, the freedom. The fur coats are wonderful, the diamond rings, the Mercedes, the homes, all that's wonderful. But it's hard to explain to you what it's like to have freedom, to be in total control of your family, to spend every day I don't know what we're going to do if Liza goes to school next year. I mean, I'm not so worried about Liza, I'm worried about what Mom and Dad are going to do when she has to go to school, because her and Dad are playing buddies. If you ask her, who's your best playing buddy, it's Daddy. Her and Daddy go on dates, her and Daddy do everything together. And you know what? Do it for your kids. Do it while they're still young and you have that time to do that. Right after we went diamond, my father passed away, and it was so nice to be able to travel there and to spend time with him and to be there for him and to be there for Bobby's sister in her time of need. See, because if we hadn't had the finances and the time, we wouldn't have been able to help them. We wouldn't have been able to spend that time with them. And some of you want to prove something to somebody, and some of you want to help your parents or help your children. But you know what? You can't wait till it's too late. You can't wait and be selfish. It's kind of a selfish thing. Well, I have fears, and I'm afraid, or I'm too lazy, or I don't want to do this. So you can't look at that. You have to look at the people you love, and you have to keep your eyes focused on them. And that's why you're out there building a business. Don't be selfish with it. Go out and share the business. Go out and share the dream and build that dream in your people. It's just been so exciting being able to share time and meet all the diamonds backstage and going around speaking with them and doing all those things. And it's just incredible to be able to do that. But probably some of the biggest highlights for us this year was, we bought a lake home, and being able to spend our summers up there with Liza and just know that we're building memories, that we're building a family time together with her. And, in September we bought a coach, and it was so cute because we were in Myrtle Beach. As a matter of fact, we were at Jellystone Park in Michigan someplace, and here we were, and nobody else was there. It was in the fall, and there were just senior citizens on their trips with their motor coach, and Bobby's pulling the coach, and he's trying to park it, and he's trying to park it between these trees, and that was a little shaky, and Liza's going, "You can do it, Daddy. You can do it, Daddy." And then he gets done, and he parks it. She goes, "See, Daddy, I knew you could do it." You know, the example that you set for your children. She thinks that she's God's gift to the world, which I don't know what's going to happen when she goes to school. But, you know, it's just interesting to see her self-esteem. Because, see, Bobby and I didn't even have one. And to instill in her the importance of love and caring for people and showing emotion and being able to help at this time of year. We do a thing called Angel Tree, where we go out as a family with some of our emeralds and we deliver presents to prisoners' children, and just to be able to share what we have and to show to her what Christmas is all about. You know, just being able to have the coach that we have. And when we were there, we had a TV set. Bobby had a TV set it put outside, an entertainment center, and the grill and everything. And here we are out at the campgrounds watching Honey, I Shrunk the Kids or something, cooking chicken. And, you know, I sat there and I looked at Bobby, and we just looked at each other and we smiled, because I can remember him coming home with a brochure, that there was a family on a brochure in front of the coach, and they were sitting there. And Bobby said, someday this is going to be us. And you know what? I don't know that I ever really believed it. I loved him enough to do it, even when I didn't believe it. And today we have the lifestyle because he was winner enough and he had guts to go out there when he was afraid, when he was scared, when he didn't want to. He went out there and did it anyway, and I have so much respect for him because he did that. And you know, he had the staying power to do it when it wasn't easy to build Amway, when it wasn't convenient to build Amway. And the lifestyle we have today is of dreams come true. See, it's there for you, but you can't look at what hasn't happened. You can't look what other people haven't done. You just got to get focused on your family. That's the reason you're building the business, hopefully, is for your family. See, I build it for him, Liza and I build it for Daddy, and Daddy builds it for us. And that's what we tell each other. You know, she'd go, why is Daddy drawing circles? And now she knows, so other people can stay home and play with their kids. You know, so we can travel with some of our diamonds coaches across America like Wilson's did, and to be able to do that. But see, when you get home next week, you got to ask yourself why you're building the business. You got to have the courage to do it for your family, and you got to get over your fears and look at it and think about what you're made of and see if you have the guts to go out there and build the business, because it's going to take you guts. It's going to take getting up off your fanny and watching TV and going out there and saying, I'll do it no matter what. I don't care if I'm afraid. I don't care what I have to do to make it happen, because that's what it takes. It takes a lot of focus and a lot of determination. And I hope that you'll make 1995 your year. You had a lot of pearls and emeralds. A lot's happened in this organization. And you know you can do it. You know you can be there. But now you just got to go out and do the work. We wish you a happy holiday, a Merry Christmas, and the greatest of 1995. And I want to turn it over to my best friend. Here's Bobby.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Well, let me see. We got to be brief here. So I got to tell you about 43 years in the next 40 minutes. I did spend 10 years of my life in a foster home, and it's an important part of my life, so I need to bring it to your attention. And that from kindergarten until 7th grade, it was a very hard time of my life. But my father was there for my brother and my sister and I, and every other Sunday for 10 years he would come and visit us kids. And as a family, our dream was someday to move home, to live together as a family. And it took 10 years for that dream to come true. If you can only imagine seeing your children 2 Sundays a month for 10 years and how hard that must have been for my dad, and I know how hard it was for me. But he was like a diamond. In other words, he was always there. There was never an excuse that the weather was bad or if he could reschedule it for another time. And I really respect him for what he did, the price that he paid for us kids, and the dream that he had that someday we could move home together. And after 10 years, that dream came true. And as a little boy, that was the only dream I really had. My brother was my best friend, and he was like my sponsor in this business. He was there to tell me it was okay, it was all right, because, see, I was so young I didn't understand why this was happening to us, and it just didn't seem fair. But for 10 years, my brother and I and my sister, we had to live with that situation. And I love my brother, and I love my dad, and I love my sister. And I think as long as there's love in your family, you have hope, because there's so many people today that don't. And then just to bring you up to date, I'm going to talk to you about some challenges that I had, some struggles that I had, because probably you have had some, you do have some right now, or you will have some, and you have to understand that you can get through those tough times. But we did move home together, and life was great. And I'll bring you up to about right after I got out of high school, and that one night that my father came home and found my brother with a bullet in his brain. And if you can imagine what that must have been like for my dad to come home and see his son, whether it was suicide, whether it was murder, because there were mixed reports from the police and from the doctors, and I was very upset. I was really frustrated because there went my best friend. And you know what it's like when you lose someone you love so much, and it hurts. And then I got that one phone call years later that my father had passed away, had a heart attack. And so now here are two of my heroes, two of my best friends that are gone, that I'll never see again. And I couldn't understand why this was happening to me, because my whole life it seemed like I had situations that I just couldn't understand why that was happening to me. And I just want you to know I got through it, and you can get through whatever you're going through. And we can't live our life with bitterment. We just got to move on, and you have to realize that God will help you to get through those tough times. And that's the message. That's our whole message, is that tough times don't last, but tough people do. And so I got out of high school, and all I knew for sure is that I wanted to be in business for myself. I didn't want to work for someone else. I didn't want someone else to tell me, you'll be at work at 8 o'clock every morning, you'll have your lunch at 12 o'clock, you'll work until 5 o'clock, you're going to work on the weekends, some of these holidays you're going to have to work, here's when you have 2 weeks off, here's what you'll be paid, and if you do a good job, you can do this for the rest of your life. And I didn't know if I should be excited or what. And so I thought, gee whiz, I want to do that for the rest of my life? To be at the mercy of someone else, to have someone else tell me what I would be paid, what my schedule would be forever. And so I got out of high school knowing I wanted to be in business for myself. That's all I knew. I had a low self-image. I thought in order to have dreams that you'd have to have a college education, that you'd have to be a doctor, you'd have to be a pilot, you'd have to be an attorney, and I wasn't good enough. And so I got out of high school, and I started my own painting business. When I started my own painting business, it wasn't really so much to have such a great lifestyle, it was just to have more freedom, more choices, being in business for myself. And after doing that for 8 years, I was frustrated because I had nothing else to hope for. I didn't know how to do anything else. The reason why you're doing what you're doing is probably because it's the only thing that you know how to do as well. And that's where I was. It was all I knew how to do. I got introduced to Amway, but the person that showed it to me told me about going to a seminar that Saturday, and I didn't go because I had other commitments. And because I didn't go, he never followed up. He didn't think I was interested. And so he just forgot about me. I forgot about him. And 3 months later, I get a phone call from Jim Goldberg, who is a high school buddy. And I was very frustrated with my situation because I had dreams, but like most people, I was giving up on my dreams and thinking I'll never have them. At a certain point, we look at someone else that may be in a wheelchair or somebody who just got laid off, and we think it could be worse, and we're thankful that it's not. We're thankful for our family and our friends and our health, and we should be. But instead of thinking about making it better, we're just glad it's not worse. And if better is possible, we should make it better. But it's going to take courage to make it better, to change, to make life better. After being 8 years in my own business, I was still living home with my dad. I had a $500 car. I was a hippie. I was working 6 10-hour days. I had a low self-image. I had drugs. Bonnie wasn't excited about the business, and that's what I had to start with. I didn't have the luxury of her enthusiasm, and all I had was my sponsor. And I remember it was 7:45 that evening, and Jimmy called me up and said, "Bobby, what are you doing tonight?" And I said, "I'm not doing nothing, Jimmy. Why? What's up?" He says, "I got to talk to you." And I said, "About what?" And he said, "I can't talk about it on the phone." And so that meant, if you can't talk about it on the phone, you know what it was about. So I went up to his house to see what it was he wanted to talk to me about. And he lived home with his mom and dad, and he had on a tie, and I've never seen him with a tie that I could remember, and I couldn't understand why he had a tie. And I went downstairs, and there were all these people, and I don't know what you remember about your first meeting, but I was very nervous. I thought I was at a narcs convention. All these ties. And then I thought, actually, the guy that's showing the plan, he's not a narc, he's nice. I thought I was going to be saved. And so again, I was nervous. I don't know what to expect. And I'm looking at Jimmy trying to figure him out. And he's looking at me wondering what I'm thinking. So that was how it all started for me. But in high school, I became a product of my environment, just like you have. We're just like the people we spend time with. And I got involved with drugs. And I remember in the beginning, I grew my own marijuana plant, my own plant just for personal use. I figured, gee whiz, I need to save some money. I'll just create my own product. And some of you probably are going to get in this business for personal use. So you're going to be able to appreciate my story. And so I got involved, or I grew my own plant just for personal use to save me some money. And the next thing I know, because it was a good product, I had some customers, and I did need to make some extra money. I thought, well, I need to make some extra money, and some of you are in this business to make a little extra money, so even you will appreciate my story. And then all of a sudden, the next day I realized that my customers had customers. And I was networking, and I had no idea what networking was all about. And that one plant turned into a field, which turned into many fields. And so when Jimmy introduced me to the plan, and it was explained that you use your own products, you get some customers, and you show them if they want to do what you're doing, that this can happen. And I thought, well, I'm already doing that, so this all made sense to me. So I didn't know what the big deal was. And so I got very excited about it. It just made sense. And so, but I remember that night they said, well, don't say anything to anybody because they don't understand and they'll laugh at you. So I went home that night, and you never follow instructions. And so what's the first thing I do? I got to ask somebody their opinion. And so I asked Bonnie. I said, Bonnie, I ran across an idea the other night. It looked real great. She said, what is it? I said, well, they told me I couldn't tell you. And it went downhill from there. She said, who are they? I said, I have never met them before. It was a friend of Jimmy's. And she said, well, what was it? I said, well, they told me not to explain it because if I did, you would laugh. And she said, Bob, I love you. I respect you. I would never laugh at you. So she said, what is it? I said, well, but they told me that you would. She said, Bob, I love you. I respect you. I would never laugh at you. So I thought, well, okay. So I told her it was Amway, and they were right. She thought I was crazy. She thought I was out of my mind. So she gave me the benefit of the doubt. She wanted me to explain how I was going to make all this money. And I don't know how well you remember your first presentation that you made, but mine started that night. And I said, well, here's you. She says, you keep me out of it. And I said, okay. and I'm going to sponsor 6 just like me. She said, good luck. And I said, you're going to get these bonuses. And there's, oh, I don't know, I can't remember, BPs and VBPs, and there's bonuses, huge bonuses. And all I know is I'm going to get a lot of money. I couldn't explain this to her. I had no idea. So she thought I was going to use my friends to get ahead because she didn't understand the program. I know she didn't understand it because I saw it and I didn't even understand it. And so she just wasn't too thrilled about it. Matter of fact, she was not excited about this business for a year. So the first year, all I had was Jimmy telling me I could do it. And Bonnie saying, how does he know? He hasn't done it. I'm thinking, well, that's a good point. And so, since I already had my own network already established, what I did is I called up my front line. This is a true story. I called up Skip, Chip, Spoon, Moose, Mountain, and Bones. And boy, these guys, I'm telling you, I didn't have to have a big list because I had 6 all figured out. I knew that I was going to be rich. I figured I'll get my 6, let them get theirs, and I'm going to be rich and live happy ever after. And they weren't interested. I couldn't believe it. I was shocked. And so I think, well, how do you convince people to do this? Then I realized you don't convince people, they convince themselves. I remember my very first time, I was at Pearl Direct, and they asked us to come and speak to their group. And I said, well, geez, I've never done that before. What do you do? And they said, well, tell them what you know the best. So I thought, all right. So I went there, first time, very nervous, and I told them what I knew best. And I said, if you're ever going to grow marijuana, the seed is key. If you don't have the right seed, you are wasting your time. So I told them what I knew. I told them how important the seed was. I told them about the dirt, where to plant it. I told them that there should be a stream so you can water these things. I told them how to pull certain plants. I told them how to prune. I told them how to harvest. I told them how to dry it, how to sell it, how to do everything. And I was never asked to go back there again. But one guy said it was the best $15 he invested. So someone there liked me that night. So I'm not here to talk to you about that. But you know, when I first saw this business, I wanted to believe that I could do it. I had fear just like you. Well, what will my friends think, and can I do it? And I was afraid that I'd read the newspaper the next day, and in the front of it, it would say, Bob Howard just got an Amway. Then what? And some of you are afraid, and fear is the thief of success. But I was more afraid of not doing it. I was afraid of the alternative. And as I mentioned, Bonnie was not excited. And I don't know why I thought I could do it, but I was willing to change. I remember Jimmy asked me, he said, Bobby, are you willing to change? And I said, yes. I didn't know exactly what he meant. He said, shave. I said, why? He said, you scare people. I had a beard that came down to here. I said, anything else? He says, yes, cut your hair. I said, why? He says, let them know you're a man. Hey, those are fighting words. Let them know you're a man. I said, anything else? He said, yes. I'm thinking, why am I asking these questions? He says, put on a tie. I thought, why? He says, make a good impression. A good impression. He said, there's one more thing. I said, what's that? He says, get off the drugs. He says, you got to clean out your mind. And I'm thinking, all at once? You got to do all this at once? I'm not too sure I want to change. You know, it's not that bad being broke. After all, everybody else is. Misery loves misery. And so I did change. Not overnight. You're not going to change overnight. But I did. And I shaved. Actually, I had long sideburns and a Fu Manchu. I cut my hair, but it was still over my ears. I went to Kmart, bought an expensive tie for, I don't know, $3-4. I clipped on so easy, I couldn't believe it. That's all there was to it. I thought there was an art to that. And you don't just get off drugs because someone suggested. That'd be like telling your parents to quit watching TV. And so I did change gradually. I remember 17 years ago, I'd get in my old $500 car. And I would say, I'll see you later, Dad. I'm going to do something with my life. And he looked at me and said, and God be with you. Overnight, I changed from Charles Manson to Charlie the Clown. No advance without chance, no guts, no glory. I remember Jimmy said, Bobby, he said, are you familiar with delayed gratification? I said, no, I never took Spanish. I have no idea what you're talking about. And he talked to me about setting priorities, getting out of my comfort zone. Are you willing to set your priorities and give some things up in order to have some other things that are more important? So I gave up softball, I gave up karate, I gave up flying a sailplane, and those are some things that I gave up because I had to come up with some time somewhere to build this business. And I had to be willing to get out of my comfort zone. And I had as much fear as any one of you have. Fear of picking up the phone and inviting people to the house. Fear of setting up, doing one-on-ones. I had fear of meeting people. I had fear of showing a plan. I hated getting in front of a group of people and speaking, especially in a living room when it's you against all them. And I had a lot of fear. I remember the first seminar and rally we went to, and Jimmy drove, which was good, because I would have left early. Because they started with a prayer and a pledge. And I couldn't understand. I was so embarrassed. I was hoping none of my other friends would be there. I was going to ask Jimmy, you swear you won't tell anybody we were here? I won't either. I was so embarrassed. Isn't that a shame? I think about it. Yeah, that's sad. To be embarrassed because people pledge their country, because they start with a prayer. And to top it all off, Jimmy at the end held my hand as we sang God Bless America. I'm going, oh. This. Oh, I was so excited about my new business. God bless America. Ha, 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 ha. Ha, 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 ha. Ha, 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 ha. Ho, 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 ho. And I remember where I started. So I wasn't used to seminars. I was used to parties. And when we started the business, there weren't any opens. We didn't have any hotel opens. There weren't any directs, pearls, emeralds, diamonds. So all I had was Jimmy. Yes, I know how you feel. How do you think I felt? And I think Jimmy's probably thinking, and all he had was me. But if this don't work, we'll go drink it off. And I can tell you about the no-shows that we had. I can tell you about the 9-hour no-shows. I had 3 9-hour no-shows in a row, 3 weekends in a row, 3 of them. And you know what? Doubt starts to creep in. And you start playing games with yourself. And you start to wonder if it's worth it, or if you can do it, or if you have what it takes. And you come home at night crying, and you're frustrated because you went there to give it your best and someone made you feel like a jerk. And you went home feeling real low. You didn't even want to do it, but you did it because you knew it was the right thing to do. And I kept I wanted it so bad. I wanted this business more than anything. And I was willing to go out and make it happen night after night. And it seemed like in the daytime I'd paint, I'd come home in the evening and go out and do my Amway business. And it seemed like all I was doing was painting and Amway, painting and Amway, painting and Amway. And then I started feeling sorry for myself, that I don't have a good balance in my life. I'm burning myself out. And then you start to, if your attitude isn't right, and if you're not reading books and listening to tapes and going to seminars, you're going to convince yourself either that it's not worth it or you don't have what it takes. And it's a thin thread. And I kept going out night after night, and it wasn't happening. And some of you, it's not happening for you. And the reason why it's not happening for you is because you're thinking about it every night, night after night. And you aren't going to get paid for thinking about it. And some of you are out doing it night after night, and it still isn't happening. All I can tell you is just keep doing it on faith. You just got to keep doing it and keep doing it and keep doing it. And there were nights I wanted to quit, but I didn't. And there were nights that my mind would play games with me. And it would say things like, tonight you die. You think it's funny. I didn't think it was funny those nights. I would be thinking about Satan would get to me, thinking tonight your wife gets raped while you're gone. Tonight your kids will be killed. You'll be killed on the highway tonight. But you know, I live my life on faith. I just believe that God has got plans for us. And if I'll do what I know and my heart is right, He'll take care of my family. That's just what I believe. So your mind is going to tell you you can't do it. What makes you think you can do it? You're a loser. You're a nobody. You're average. And your heart says, yes, you can. You got to learn to listen to your heart. That's why we talk about get this business in your heart. But I was mad because my back orders, I'd pay for my products and they wouldn't be in, and that bothered me. And I remember Jimmy and Patty saying, Bobby, if it would make you feel any better, we'd write CI instead of BO. Backward. I said, what's CI? He said, that means it's coming in. I thought, that don't make me feel any better. And I'd still have to pay for the products. That would make me mad. And I wanted to get customers because I understood the program. You need some customers. So I would say, Jimmy, how do you sell the product? And I remember him telling me, you sell the laundry detergent. It's pure soap. It's the best soap in the world. Quarter of a cup will do your laundry. Money back guarantee. So I'd go and show someone the plan. If they had no interest, I would ask them if they'd want to be one of my preferred customers. And I would let them know about our laundry detergent. And I would just hope that they'd never ask me what SA8 meant. I still don't think I really know. And so I'd explain to them, well, it's pure soap, quarter cup, do your laundry, money back, guaranteed. And I could never, and they say, well, what size it come in? I say 6 pound or 12 pound. They'd, well, I'll buy a 6 pound. They felt sorry for me. Oh, I'll buy a 6 pound. And I could never sell a 12 pound. I couldn't understand why. So I got with Jimmy and did some counseling. Some of you aren't counseling enough. That's why you're not growing. I said, Jimmy, how come I can never sell a 12 pound? And he goes, why didn't you ask me that earlier? He goes, I said, you're kidding me. He goes, now try it. So I went and got me another customer. And I said, how'd you like to be one of my preferred customers? It's a pure soap, quarter of a cup will do your laundry, money back guarantee. And they say, well, what size to come in? I say, 12 pound and 70. Hey, I thought, man, I got to ask him more questions. You know, I kept seeing, I was putting money into the business, and I wouldn't see anything in return. But see, I had ownership mentality, and I realized it was an investment. Whether it be for gasoline, whether it be going for functions, or books, or tapes, or babysitters, or whatever, it was an investment. And you have to understand that you're investing into your future. Right now, you have a chance. You do have a chance. Now it's just a matter of how bad you want to win. And I just couldn't keep myself busy. I wanted the business, but I couldn't keep myself busy. Some of you are to that point right now. You want the business, but you can't keep yourself busy. And here's what you need to do. You need to go quicksilver. You need to create some new business for yourself. Because your attitude is, if my group would get going, I would be busier. Well, why should they get going? You haven't. And so as you get going, your group will get going. And so all you got to do is set the pace, set the example. So if your attitude is, I want this business and I'm willing to go out, you need to go quicksilver. You just need to create some new business for yourself. And you'll get yourself busy. And I've had nights where I had lost meetings. I couldn't find, and I even read the Go-Getter. I couldn't find my meetings some nights. And I remember those nights where I'd be listening to tapes on the way meeting, get into a tape, and all of a sudden I'd pass my exit, and boy, then I'd have to go to the next exit and turn around, and so I got to go extra fast to come back, and then turn around and come back to get the exit I was supposed to, and and all that. And I remember those nights where I would see the flashers. I've never felt comfortable in that situation. I still don't. And I would see those flashes, oh man, and I'd get all nervous. I'd put my window down, I'd throw my tapes out. It was just a habit I had to break, It's like, get rid of this stuff, man. No, Bob, it's okay. It's okay. You can't go to jail for those tapes. This is all legal stuff here you got. So, oh yeah, that's right. And I'd look for stuff. I thought I was doing something illegal. I can tell you about my car breaking down. It wasn't Amway's fault my car broke down. And I remember nights hitting. I remember one night, about 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm going down the road, doing a meeting, 2, 3 o'clock, and all of a sudden, hey, there's Ben behind. What's he doing? Oh, wrecked my car. I'm on the side of the road, and I'm thinking about that guy that just broke out of prison on the other side of the country. And I know he made it this far, waiting for someone to hit a deer. Man, I'm telling you what, scared, and Satan says, tonight's the night. You shouldn't have gone out. I told you to be happy with your job. I can tell you those nights. But you have to look at yourself like you're a champion in training. And it's going to seem like 95% of the time, the things you're doing are a waste. It's not. It's part of your training. And it's going to seem like it, though. And you just got to keep doing it. And if you were to ask me, what was your dream 17 years ago? Well, I'll tell you what became my dream. Sleep. I'd give anything just to sleep. I remember one day, I'm a Diamond Direct, and I'm in Taco Bell line in Chelsea, Michigan, where I live. And there's a couple cars in front of me. And I'm talking to myself again. I said, Bob, put it in park now. And I'm thinking, this is ridiculous. Put it in park. But gosh, I'm tired. I mean, I really was tired. I said, Bob, put it in park now. Get out of here. Bob, this is God. Put it in park. Okay, you put it in park. Because I was thinking, what if, can you imagine? I get so tired, I slam on the gas. I get in a wreck in Taco Bell line. The police come and take out a report. What do you do for a living? Amway. No, that would not be good for us. So I put it in park, and I got to admit, I felt so relieved. I thought, that can't happen. Just to relax for a minute, like, stress-free just for a minute. That can't happen. I can't get in a wreck. How this feels good not to worry about that. All of a sudden, this is a true story, all of a sudden I heard, beep, 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 beep. I'm thinking, what happened? And I'm looking behind me. All these cars are back there. I'm going, What are they doing? And I look in front of me. Nobody's in front of me except the lady at Taco Bell window going. I'm thinking, oops. And so, and I drive up there, and I said, going EDC. She said, what do you mean? I said, I'm glad you asked. But there are things like this that you can do to make contacts. I'm telling you, be creative. I remember one time, true story, I am so tired. I'm in an airplane, heading out doing a long-distance group. And Bonnie came with me that weekend, and we're heading out on one of these days where the plane just, this is going wrong, and that's going wrong. The plane, hold on, everybody. We need to get a fire extinguisher and make everybody happy. And so, finally, I actually fell asleep before the plane even took off. I mean, I am out, like just out. And all of a sudden, finally, it seems like a day later, we take off. And, well, anyway, the plane's taken off. And at this time, as it's taken off, I'm waking up. And I'm thinking, about time we get, and I'm just thinking we're just getting there. I thought we'd already gotten there. And so as we're taking off, it takes off. And I'm thinking, wow, a touch and go. And I'm thinking, I said to the lady next to me, as we took off, I said, has that ever happened to you before? And she's thinking, oh no, I've got a weirdo next to me. And so she didn't understand my question or something. I said, has that ever happened to you before? I'm just trying to be polite. That doesn't happen very often. And I thought, well, maybe Bambi was in front of him. It happens to me all the time, And I'm thinking that he's ready to come down. Oh, pull her back up. There's Bambi again. And so I thought, touch and go. And so she said, what do you mean? I said, touch, go. And she didn't know what I meant. And so I had to try to explain to her, touch, go, stop, and go. And she says, well, whatever. And so I thought, whatever, she's got a problem. So then I said to Bonnie, has that ever happened? And she said, what's that? I said, touch and go. I said, don't nobody know what a touch and go is, for heaven's sakes? And she says, well, what do you mean? I said, touch, go, Bambi, something happened. He took off again, pulled it back up. And she said, what are you talking about? I'm thinking, now I'm getting mad. I need to read right now, And my attitude is getting bad. I'm saying, touch and go, All of a sudden, I'm realizing I'm in the clouds. I'm thinking, well, never mind. And you're going to do some dumb stuff like this. And there's going to be those nights where you're going to be riding home in your car because you're a winner, and you're paying the price for your family, and you're going to be going at night, and you're going to be so tired. And you're going to be asking yourself, why am I doing this? You have to remind yourself, oh, yeah, the dream. The dream. Let me get my dream list. That's why I'm doing the dream. You have to remind yourself, take your dream list with you. And now Jimmy would always tell me, Bobby, tell yourself you're having fun. I said, okay, I'm having fun. This is fun. Really, I couldn't think of anything I'd rather be doing. So it's like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, and, it's not raining, but it has nothing to do with it. You turn on your windshield wipers. And you open up the windows and let air come in. Doesn't make any difference if it's cold or raining. Stick your head out the window. You start to hold your eyes open. When you get to the point where you throw Andy Andrews out the window, it's a bad sign. Nothing's funny anymore. I mean, you're tired, you're exhausted, and you're just going there. It's like, oh, God, how much farther have I got to go? Oh, it seems like forever. And then you just go, and you got to keep going. It's like, this is not fun. And but you do it because you're a winner. And you just keep going, and all of a sudden, it's like, look out! You're hallucinating deer. It was a reflector. It's like, man, now I'm getting mad, So now you're wound up again for a little bit. Then you take the tapes out. You throw them out the window. I hate you, And then you turn on some music, and you start singing. And then you turn that off, and then you start screaming. And you're just going down the road. It hurts. I'm so tired, it hurts. A mobile gas station. A Burger King. I love Burger King. Oh, and you get off the exit, and you get out, and you get some gas. You stretch your underwear out. It's like, man, you've been sitting for a long time. You go in there, want a large coffee, and some cigars. You get back in your car, you sit in your car, you say, I'm a winner. You get your coffee. Well, that ought to get me a few more miles. And you go back at it, man, and you just stay focused. You listen to another tape, and you remind yourself, let me get my dreams list out again. And what was my goal? Oh, yeah, a go-getter. You keep driving, and then all of a sudden your coffee gets cold, and then you sprinkle yourself with it, you know. And you put your cigars out. You close the windows. You touch yourself with that cigar. Ouch. And you get desperate. You pull over. I'm going to kill myself if I keep driving. And about this time, Satan says, I told you. And you're thinking, that's not a bad idea. But you keep going, and finally you just pull off the side of the road. You can't make it. And you get out the car and you do some exercises. And you just, you know, you're outside. It's 2 o'clock in the morning on the highway, and you go, Rocky. And you do your jumping jacks, and you go, I'm a winner. I have a dream. And then all of a sudden, about this time, the police come by. And they ask you, what's wrong? Oh, nothing at all. Walk on that straight line. Backwards. Are you happy? They say, man, he ain't drunk, but he's weird. What are you doing out this time of night? Well, I'm glad you asked. There are so many ways to make contacts. There are so many people out there. So, remember, it's all about your attitude. You got to have the right attitude. You got to be in the right environment. You got to develop the right habits. And some of you are going to bowl this winter. Your kids aren't going to ask you in the year 2000, what'd you bowl? Telling you. Some of you won't admit it, but you're addicted to your TV. You watch the 5 o'clock news, the 6 o'clock news, 7 o'clock news, 11 o'clock news, and you'll look for more news. Some of you are watching talk shows because you can't believe that somebody be that crazy, but you watch it every day. You're crazier than all of them. Some of you are watching these soap operas, and you can't even trust your husbands anymore. And you send them out to get milk, and you got to send one of the kids with them because you don't trust them. You got to quit watching that garbage. So I got some people mad at me right now. Maybe some of you don't like me. Well, someone doesn't like you, so now we're even. You know, I remember the first 12 people I sponsored quit. And some of you are frustrated because you just showed it to someone who quit. So your tail's between your legs. Man, stand up like a man. The first 12 I sponsored quit. And if they would have all got together and quit together, they might have convinced me. But fortunately for me, it just one at a time, they kept quitting. I couldn't understand. Why aren't they doing it? And I was mad. But I couldn't afford self-pity. You can never afford self-pity. Don't feel sorry for yourself, because I'll promise you it could be worse. But I also promise you it can be better. But you're going to have to make it better. See, it's all up to you. It's all about you wanting to change, willing to change, making the changes. And I remember when Jimmy went direct, Jimmy and Patty, I remember when they went direct. You know how you celebrate and you're all excited for everybody? I wasn't really excited. Because I added their PV, I took my PV away from theirs, and I thought they made a mistake. I thought they aren't at 7,500 because I'm not at 6,000 yet. And some of you are feeling the same way. You think that you're most of your sponsors' group, and you're going to do what Jimmy did. Jimmy and Patty decided to move on. And I got left behind. And I got concerned. See, I believe you'll build the business either because you want to be on the team or because you're afraid of getting left behind. And let me tell you what happened. For 13 months, I was never a go-getter the first 13 months. And I made a decision that I would set my priorities and I would really get out there and be productive, not busy. Productive, to set goals and write them down. And counsel, develop a plan, and get out there and make it happen. And in 2 months, we went direct from that point. So I'd been in the business for 15 months, and in 13 months, I made a decision, and 2 months later, we went direct. And when you get it in your heart, you'll be a direct in 3 or 4 months. I remember my very first bonus check, $5.98. I was so excited until I passed it out. And I wondered, is this thing really cracked up like is it really what it's cracked up to be? Can I really do it? Is it really, really worth it? And there were so many times, well, we can't tell you our income because it's not proper. But I will tell you this, every week I make more than what I used to make every year, week after week after week. I remember at the age of 29, I was 26 years old. 15 months after I got in the business, I go direct. 15 months later, or somewhere in that area, we go Emerald. And I took Jimmy's alarm, or his sledgehammer, because he painted it red and white and blue when he retired. He smashed his alarm clock, and I smashed mine. I used that same sledgehammer to retire. Now, let me tell you something. My dad did not live long enough for me to be able to do for him what I would love to have done, which every kid would like to do for his parents, to buy him a car, buy him a home, send him to Hawaii, whatever. And he didn't live long enough to see me go diamond. But he saw me go Emerald, and here's what my dad saw. He saw me retire at the age of 29, but more important than that, he saw me get off the drugs. And that was worth me getting in right there, because he saw me become a winner. But some of you are on drugs. And I don't know what your drug is, but I can tell you, you can get off it. You need to be around good, positive people. It's the only way it happens. To get away from people that are keeping you where you are and get around some other people who will help you to blossom, to become a better person. Then all of a sudden we get to some of the luxuries. And Bonnie asked me, I remember the first time she said, Bob, have you ever had a pedicure? I thought, well, when I was younger, I had a salamander. But I had no idea what she was talking about. Now, personally, I recommend hot wax. But we have the luxuries today. As I mentioned earlier, I got in Amway even though I didn't want to do Amway. But I knew why I was going to do it, even though I didn't want to do it. I was so sick and tired of being sick and tired of being sick and tired, living from paycheck to paycheck, living on borrowed money, reading menus from right to left, pumping my own gas, driving old cars. I got into business so I could have a nicer car. And it was just less than a year ago, I bought Bonnie a new S500 Mercedes, white two-door Mercedes. That was like $120,000. I felt it was only fair if she get one and I buy one, so I bought myself a new S500 four-door black pearl. There's $100,000. We bought a new Suburban, and with all the StarCraft package, I wrote a check out for that. But I got in to get a nicer car. We just bought a new Bluebird motor coach. I think the sticker price on that was like $600,000. You never pay sticker price. But it sounds better to tell people what the sticker price was. So you know I talked them down at least a nickel or two, right? And it's incredible. I got into business so I could buy get my own apartment. We have 3 homes today. And that's incredible. I got into business so I could take Saturdays off, and I have my life off. I do what I want every day. Every day. You can't explain that. How do you explain freedom? You don't. How do you explain sex? You can't. But even when it's bad, it's good. You know, you can't explain these things. You have to get married, you guys, if you're single, but whatever. So, I got in to make life better. And it is better. I got into business so I could travel, just take a 3 or 4 hour drive up north and spend a few days. As I mentioned, to travel the world. To take our little girl and so she can go to Australia and take pictures with the kangaroos and the koala bears. And oh, it's so neat. It's so neat. I can't even begin to tell you. I could tell you I could talk all night just what's happened in the last 11 months. So it's been great. I just ordered my second Harley Davidson. Why? You're some of you thinking, well, why did you order a second one? Oh, because I can. I remember my first trip to New York to buy jewelry. That first trip was a $50,000 expense. Wrote a check out for that. And that ring that she's wearing, that big ring, you know what the message is to that big tanny guy that tries to hustle her? The message is, don't think about it. You can't afford her. Hey. But the last thing I have to worry about is our relationship. So many people doubt their spouses. I'm going to tell you what, it's such a great feeling to know that you can absolutely trust your spouse. Absolutely. It's a tremendous feeling. I couldn't even imagine not having that feeling. And so it's been great. And, golly, I can't tell you no stories. No, can't. I'm running out of time. And I was going to tell you about a motor coach. And that motor coach is so awesome. When I purchased that, I have a driver. So I flew my driver down with me to pick it up. We spent all day learning all about the motor coach, all day. And then it was time to leave. And I said, Eddie, I understand that you're the driver, you're more experienced than I am, and I appreciate that. That's why I hired you. I said, but by principle, I can't let you drive it before me. So excuse me as you're sitting in my seat. And he moved over, and I said, I think I grabbed that big steering wheel, man. And I'm trying to remember everything that they taught that day. And here's what I was thinking about. I was thinking about 17 years ago when I got into business. All the no-shows, all the people that laughed at me, all the times I thought I was a loser, all the times I thought I was wasting my time, I was kidding myself. You listen to people enough, don't get your hopes up, you're kidding yourself, you start to listen to them. But I had faith and I kept the dream. And I'll tell you what, I started thinking back 17 years ago as a hippie, lived home with his dad, a $500 car, worked 6 10-hour days, a girlfriend who wasn't excited, a hippie, drugs, low self-image. What made me think that I could do this? I didn't know if I could do it. I just wanted to believe it was possible. And I got emotional. And tears started coming down my face. And as Eddie looked at me and he said, Bobby, he said, it's not that bad, I'll drive. I thought, you don't even know what I'm thinking about right now. It was great. And I can tell you to take little Liza to Yogi Bear Park and to find out Yogi Bear was in hibernation for the winter until I talked to the manager. It's amazing what Diamond will do. And Yogi Bear woke up for my little girl. It was great. It was so cool. And to sit out there that night on that motor coach, that 40-foot coach, pull out the TV outside, entertainment system, put in the video, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, pull out the grill, and cook chicken, and I'm looking at that big motor coach, and I'm thinking, this is really, for real, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. I mean, I've gotten smaller. This is big, one or the other. And it's a great experience to travel the country with your kids, to see the world, to have housekeepers and groundkeepers. We just bought our third home up on Lake Charlevoix. $750,000. I don't know, 4,000 square foot, 4 bedrooms, 5 bathrooms, a couple fireplaces, 3 acres of land. And someone said to me, well, because we also have a $500,000 condo on the same lake. And they said, well, what are you going to do with your condo? I said, well, why? And they said, well, are you going to sell it? I said, should I? I think everybody should have at least 2 homes on the same lake. That's Diamond. It's Diamond. To buy a 60-foot boat slip and never have had a boat in your life, but you bought it because you have vision and a lot of money. It's great. Now we could tell you story after story. And you're right, we do pinch ourselves. But I don't have to apologize for my success because I helped a lot of other people. And see, I learned to put myself second and put other people first. I learned to deny myself 17 years ago so my family would have the benefits in the future. And people ask, what's the best part? Sleeping in. Being able to sleep in. Get out of bed when you want. Do what you want every day. To spend time with your kids. To watch Jungle Book. Beauty and the Beast. Cinderella. McGee and Me. Gerbert. I remember one day Grandma came. We were watching The Mouse Detective. Grandma left with Liza. It's Tuesday or Wednesday. They left. I'm 42 years old watching The Mouse Detective by myself. That's Diamond. That's Diamond. We just built a $500,000 office space so we could store our motor coats and the limousines and all the great things that are going to happen in our life. And all these things have just happened in the last few months. And it's incredible. It's exciting. And it's there for you. See, we're not telling you, hey, look what we got, because we're not telling you everything. We're just telling you parts of it. See, if we tell you everything, then we become obnoxious. If we don't tell you anything, then you quit because you wonder if it's worth it, because you'll convince yourself you have a good job. Convince that to your family if you lose your cash flow because of a situation that you didn't think could have happened to you. And so having time with your family will be the biggest reward you'll ever have. The intangibles, the personal growth, the friendships, the hope that you have for your future, security for the people you love. And her story after story after story. As we took our emeralds and our diamonds to New York to be able to have limousines at our service for 3 days, and for me to write a check out for $3,000 for limos at my cost because they were my friends. That's what diamond is. Do those things like that with your friends. It's better than what you can even think. And let me wrap it up. I want you to know some of the highlights in my life. You don't know who I am necessarily. And here are some of my highlights. In 7th grade, when I moved home with my dad, that was a dream that we had for 10 years. And it came true. Now I'm here to tell you, tough times don't last, tough people do. And whatever your dream is, you can have it if you fight for it. That was a highlight of my life. To me, that was more exciting than anything I'll ever experience, because for the first time in my life, we had family. Another highlight was 29 years old. When I retired, I took that alarm clock and that sledgehammer, and I beat the system. Because, see, I was programmed that I have to work till I was 65 or 70, just like maybe you've been programmed. You don't have to work till a certain age. When you have the cash flow and the net worth, at that point you have that option to take your freedom. Another highlight for me was when I met Bonnie and we married. I'm blessed. I have an angel. I hope you feel that way about your spouse. And she's the best person for me. And I love her with my heart. And I just thank God every day for her. And I hope you feel that way. That's a highlight for me. To see my little girl Liza born, to actually see her born, to be there, and to watch Bonnie go through all that as the nurse and the doctors were taking care of me in the corner, going, you okay? I'm going, I'm all right. I'll be fine. Don't worry. You know? And to actually see all that happen, I go, it's got to hurt. And to see that little person come out, that little miracle that God has given us, that little precious girl. At that point, I decided, hey, I will do diapers. Because before this, I'll do anything but diapers. I think that's the least I can do. So any of you guys that have kids or will have kids, when you change diaper, there's a goal. The goal is, watch out. The goal is, don't let it happen to you. And I remember one time, it did happen. And I couldn't believe it. I really couldn't. I mean, I'm changing, and she's just kind of like in a real hurry. And all of a sudden I realized, oh! I thought, I can't believe it. Really, I have got poop on my fingers. This is incredible. And I'm thinking about this. I'm so embarrassed. I'm thinking, I've got poop on my fingers. This is naughty girl. And I'm thinking to myself, now, could there possibly be a worse scenario? I'm thinking, yes, I could have a job. I could be working. This is not a big deal. Little poop on the finger won't hurt anybody. And going diamond was a highlight. To be able to get to know these diamonds. To be able to be introduced as a new diamond on a Jaeger stage. How proud your wife will be because she knows that she married a marker man. A guy that was willing to go out and do it night after night after night in spite of his weakness. And she's so proud. And you'll be so proud to have your kids on stage, your parents. You can be so proud of this organization. You can bring your parents, your grandparents, your minister, the most successful people you know, and be proud. There's no gossip. There's no booze. We're excited people. We're excited about our future. We believe in each other, and we need more people like us. And you can always be proud to bring people to this organization. But Going Diamond is a highlight. So there's a great future out there for you. I can't explain to you how great Diamond is. I can't explain it to you. You just have to do it on faith. You got to trust us. You got to believe us that we're telling you it's worth it. And forget all the material things. Just to have your freedom to owe no one any money. To know that your family is financially taken care of. It's a great feeling. But you're going to have to earn it. So I want to ask you 3 questions before I close. First question I want to ask you is, what do you want? Do you have a dreams list? Because if you don't have a dreams list, you're not a professional, and you won't make it. Let me ask you another question. What will you give up in order to have your dreams? Because there is no such thing as something for nothing. There is no free lunch. You've got to make some sacrifices. What will you give up? You've got to be willing to give something up. The third question I'll ask you is, what will you do that you haven't done, that you know that you need to do? Because it's not enough to be in Amway. That's not enough. You got to do it. So what are you willing to do that you haven't been doing? Because you got to start doing it. And I believe you know what to do. I believe you know what it takes to be a diamond. And for those of you that have any doubt, because I am a simple type of a person, I like to keep things simple. So let me share with you just how simple it is to go diamond. It doesn't get any simpler than this, and here it is. Just 6. Just 6. So I lost my right to complain when I saw this. It was either do it or quit complaining. I decided, if I want the privileges in life, I'll take the responsibilities, and I'll make the changes. And I just believe that God had a plan for me. And I also believe that God has a plan for you. You are worthy of it. You deserve it like anyone else. And let me end it with a nice little poem. This is the beginning of a new day. God has given me this day to use it as I will. I can waste it or use it for good. Whatever I do today is important because I'm exchanging a day of my life for it. When tomorrow comes, this day will be gone forever, leaving in its place something that I have traded for it. I want it to be gain, not loss, good, not evil. Success, not failure, so that I shall not regret the price that I paid for it. There are 2 pains in life, the pain of discipline and the pain of regret. Don't join the If Only I Would Have club, because, see, the truth of the matter is we're getting old, and now is the time. You have to develop the urgency to go out there and make it happen. You have to make the decision that this is going to be my year. 1995 is our year. And I'm going to learn what I didn't do last year, and I'm going to make it happen this year. It's a new beginning. It's a new beginning. And I'm going to take advantage of it. I have been blessed with the opportunity, and now in order to have the blessings, I must do something with the opportunity. You get excited about the possibilities or concerned about the consequences. And I hope that you see where you can be. We hope that you'll have vision and that you'll realize that you have what it takes. And we're just proud of each one of you And then tomorrow or the next day, when you're back home doing whatever it is that you do, we hope that you'll remember this weekend. And maybe this weekend will be in your heart forever, that you'll make a decision. Because we want to make it worth your while for the price that you paid to be here. But I'll be real honest, it was a small price for you to pay to be here this weekend. It was a small price to pay. And I want to encourage you to do what you got to do to get back here for Dream Weekend. You've got Dexter and Bertie Yeager coming in. They're the best of the best of the best. And you have them coming in here. And like MJ said, you don't take it for granted. And you have to have the attitude that you don't know how many more times Dexter will be willing to or able to. Because we don't know what God's plan is for Dexter, just like we don't know what his plans are for us. But we build our business on faith. We live our life on faith. And I'm just going to tell you something. We're counting on you. We're expecting you to make it happen. Not for us, but for you. And we'll look forward to hearing your story because you have a story to tell, and we need to hear your story. So we'll look forward to reading your stories and the profiles of success and seeing you at Diamond Club and walking the beaches of the world because dreams come true. Go for it because you can do it. Love you. Thanks for having us.